In a future devastated by the Omega virus, society has been reduced to ruins. Three brothers, Salvador, Oliver, and Benjamin, survive in isolation in a cabin hidden deep within the forest. Oliver and Benjamin play in the lagoon, while Salvador, the eldest brother, follows his morning routine. He bears the marks of survival on his body, having lost one of his legs in this devastated world. The brothers return home when they spot a dog, so they ask Salvador to bring the weapon. Shortly after, he arrives on a bicycle carrying a homemade crossbow. To distract the animal, Salvador hands a bone to the brothers, who slowly approach. With the target in sight, he fires and manages to bring it down, securing the hunt. On the way back, Benjamin observes the animal's teeth and asks if they are the same as the monster's. Salvador replies that they are much worse, as they are fangs capable of killing with a single bite. Then the trio arrives at the base, where there is a door with a sign forbidding Benjamin's entry. Salvador asks Oliver if he went to the basement, and the boy replies that he did not, as he heard no noises. The conversation, along with Salvador's expression, makes it clear that they are hiding a terrible secret. Later, they gather to eat, and Benjamin praises the food, asking what was used in its preparation. Salvador says it is just protein, but Oliver reveals it was the frog Benjamin had caught to raise. Outraged, he accuses his brother of breaking the promise to take care of the animal. Irritated, Salvador states that they need to eat to survive and orders him to sit down. Benjamin refuses to eat his pet, and furious, the eldest brother forces him to sit, questioning his reaction, since he helped kill the dog without hesitation. In tears, Benjamin argues that it is not the same, as the dog serves to feed the creature while the frog was his pet. Later, Salvador prepares the creature's food while talking to Oliver about the younger brother. At that moment, a terrifying growl puts everyone on alert. Salvador quickly orders Oliver to hide the youngest, and he obeys, telling Benjamin to remain silent. Then Oliver returns to help his brother, and the two go to the basement using an improvised suit. There they approach a cell where a creature tries to break free ferociously. Its identity still unclear, but it seems to be someone important to them. Later, while Salvador is distracted, Benjamin rushes in to warn that one of the hanging bodies has fallen. They hang it back up to avoid attracting more creatures and to keep the area around the base safe. In the following days, the three maintain their routine, with Benjamin and Oliver playing while Salvador takes care of everything. In the garden, he shows concern upon realizing that food is running out and the harvest is poor. While Benjamin and Oliver talk, Salvador asks for help, but soon becomes irritated and begins demanding that the brothers fulfill their duties. Later, the brothers enjoy watching TV, when Salvador arrives and turns it off, calling Oliver to talk. Oliver shows a map and says they need to set more traps, but Salvador argues that it is useless since they have not caught anything for weeks. Faced with the scarcity of resources, Salvador says they need to go out to gather supplies, but Oliver warns that it is dangerous to take Benjamin. Salvador replies that he cannot go alone, as someone needs to stay to feed the thing in the basement. Benjamin interrupts the conversation, revealing his fear and difficulty sleeping, and the brothers tell him a children's story about abandoned children in the forest, creating a dark parallel with their reality. After that, Salvador tells them to sleep and says goodbye, while Oliver sadly looks at a photograph of his family before the tragedy. Later, Salvador catches Benjamin trying to approach the basement and reacts aggressively, scolding his brother for putting his own life at risk. Benjamin asks when he will be allowed to see them, and Salvador replies that only when he turns 10. He argues that Oliver saw them before, and Salvador emphasizes that any distraction could cost them their lives in a single bite. Salvador reinforces the need to gather supplies and emphasizes that the brothers must work together. Soon they say goodbye to Oliver, who watches them leave with sadness, aware of the dangers. On their bicycles, they travel for days in search of supplies until they find a restaurant called Jacobo. Benjamin asks if the pandemic reached that region, and Salvador explains that the virus affected the whole world, but that this large-scale contagion was not the only problem faced by humanity. Meanwhile, Oliver goes down alone to feed the creature, and upon placing the food, the thing reacts ferociously and tries to attack him, but he manages to escape in time, sitting in complete panic. At the same time, the pair of brothers search a house when Salvador finds something terrifying, a corpse tied to the wall with ropes and a number written in blood, realizing that the trumpets had been there. The group is a radical sect that believes it is responsible for the salvation of the 144,000 chosen, performs brutal rituals against heretics, and decides who receives the cure. Benjamin tries to go upstairs, but Salvador stops him, trying to preserve his innocence. Later, the two camp far from that area, and Salvador marks the place as dangerous. Benjamin comments that they could live there, but Salvador reminds him that they still need to take care of the monster and wait in case their parents return. Then he talks to Oliver, informing him that the trumpets passed by and killed another person. Worried, Oliver asks when they will return, and Salvador replies that it will take time. At that moment, Oliver reveals that he was almost attacked, and Benjamin, overhearing, becomes frightened. Salvador tells Oliver that Benjamin asked why they could not leave the cabin. Oliver asks what he answered, and Salvador admits that he just ignored his brother. Oliver suggests telling him the truth, arguing that Benjamin understands more than he thinks. Salvador says it is not the right time yet, and says goodbye to his brother, asking him to be careful. In the morning, the brothers begin to return, and along the way, Salvador asks them to rest. He says he will fetch water from the river, and soon hands the weapon to Benjamin, asking him to wait. While collecting water, Salvador feels he is being watched and hurries. However, the backpack with the radio, an essential item for their communication and safety, falls into the river and is lost. Frightened, he quickly returns, asking Benjamin to hurry, and the two run with their bicycles. At the cabin, Oliver realizes the dog meat is gone and decides to use some rats. He pushes the bucket with the food toward the thing and quickly retreats, frightened by its growls. Later, Oliver, terrified, tries to contact his brothers, but gets no response. He manages to sleep a little, but is awakened by a noise and runs to check. Upon finding his brothers, he hugs them in tears and questions Salvador about why he did not respond. The brother explains that he lost the backpack, compromising everyone's safety. While they talk, Benjamin again takes the keys and goes down to the basement, approaching the cell. Curious, he throws a piece of bone inside and discovers two infected people, being grabbed by one of them. Benjamin is almost bitten, but is saved in time by his brothers. Later, the two reveal the truth about their parents and explain that before Benjamin was born, a virus had stopped the world, but it was not this one that affected their parents, but another. Oliver comments that because of this virus, the global economy collapsed. Salvador adds that humans were desperate for a vaccine. The first vaccine worked at first, but the virus kept evolving. Even with updated vaccines, it proved stronger. Finally, they applied a new untested vaccine, and as a side effect, the Omega virus emerged. Benjamin asks if they will die, and Salvador reveals he is surprised they are still alive. Benjamin laments, saying he wants his parents back, and Salvador replies that he does too, but there is no cure. Oliver tries to calm them, saying someone might discover a cure, but Salvador no longer believes it. He remembers that their parents managed to take them to that isolated place and taught them everything about survival. Oliver tries to continue, but is interrupted by Salvador, who says Benjamin can now help take care of them. The three protect themselves and decide to take their mother for a walk outside. While walking, Benjamin talks excitedly to her, but Salvador reminds him that she cannot understand. Benjamin acknowledges this, but points to a tree and asks her to touch it. Somehow, she manages to touch it and bites the tree, surprising the brothers. Salvador then says they need to go back, but Benjamin insists they can change things and promises to train them. In the following days, the trio continues caring for their parents and tries to give them a normal life. They follow Benjamin's plan to train them, marking the days they do this, and become happy to see that they are adapting to human habits again. Now more confident, they decide to leave them unchained in the cell, first doing so with their father, who shows no resistance. Then they release their mother, who reacts differently, but manages to control her murderous instinct and backs away. Oliver asks if they will no longer chain them, and Salvador says no, and that Benjamin was right. He then asks to try something, and attempts to teach them some words. Salvador tells him to stop, as they will only be able to tame them up to a certain point, and asks Oliver to feed them. While they talk, suddenly their mother repeats the word pig. This makes the boys happy, and they try to encourage her to say more words. Benjamin says that tomorrow is Christmas, and asks if there will be a special dinner like last year. Salvador quickly refuses, and Oliver supports his brother and says they have evolved a lot. Feeling pressured, Salvador ends up agreeing. The next day, the three prepare a dinner, now with their parents present, and the younger brothers become excited. Then they take a family photo, and Salvador compares it with an old one, feeling for a moment a happiness he had not felt for years. During dinner, Benjamin tries to teach them to eat real food, and they react strangely, grabbing the spoons and making a lot of noise. However, Salvador notices someone outside and asks Oliver to take them to the basement while he goes to check. Suddenly, he is attacked from behind by a stranger, starting a confrontation with the stranger managing to steal his weapon and knock him to the ground. The brothers soon arrive, and the stranger reveals herself to be a girl, who asks if there is anyone else in the house. Salvador says it is just them, but she insists she heard noises and demands the truth. Benjamin explains that they were just enjoying Christmas dinner, and the young woman lowers the weapon, smiling. They take her inside and watch her eat, noticing how hungry she was. She reveals she saw the brothers in the woods, apologizes for scaring them, and says she found the map in the backpack. Salvador picks up the radio, but she explains it is already damaged. Then she tries to connect with the brothers, who remain apprehensive, and asks if they have ever seen any planes flying there, explaining that they are Russian, marked with the Red Cross symbol, flying around the world, dropping thermal boxes containing a serum called gamma globulin. The information excites the brothers, who want to know more, and Salvador asks if it is true. She confirms the medicine exists and has a dual function, to reverse symptoms in those already infected and to offer protection against new infections. Salvador shows skepticism, stating that everything started with a poorly tested vaccine, and she acknowledges it, but says the planes stopped delivering the cure in that region. According to her, the brothers have two options: stay in the current house, maintaining the garden and survival routine, but without access to the cure, or go out in search of the cure, facing greater risks, but with the possibility of finding something better. Salvador says she cannot stay, and the young woman asks if the trumpets are there too. Salvador says that so far they have only found traces of them, and she explains that her group was killed by them. Oliver, noticing her sadness, invites her to watch a movie, which makes her happy, as she did not know it worked without electricity. Salvador says she cannot stay, as his parents would not approve. The young woman introduces herself as Valeria and begs not to be sent away. Pressured, he ends up accepting, and they begin to watch the movie. However, Salvador, tired of generating energy, tells the brothers to go to sleep, and Valeria thanks him for that. She asks more about him, but Salvador, embarrassed, says he is going to sleep. Before leaving, she asks to take a shower, and the two go to the room. When she finishes, Valeria appears undressed, leaving Salvador speechless, asks to borrow a shirt, lies beside him, and says she will reward him. Salvador is tempted, but backs off, stating they do not need her help. She insists, explaining that the situation outside is complicated, with the infected and the trumpets, and asks to spend just one night with him, and the two end up sharing an intimate moment. Salvador thanks her for the night, says he knows she has suffered a lot, but that she cannot stay there. She understands and asks to be held until dawn, promising to disappear afterward. In a flashback, we see Salvador losing his leg. He was bitten and had to amputate it to prevent the virus from spreading. The father tries to calm him, while the mother performs the amputation. Salvador wakes up frightened, and Valeria, who was gathering some things to leave, hears growls coming from the basement. She manages to find the keys, goes down curiously to the basement and approaches the cell, but sees no one. When she turns around, she is suddenly grabbed by the boy's mother. Salvador tries to free her, but the infected woman tears a piece of her flesh. While they try to deal with the attack, she is bitten in the leg by the parents, and Salvador begs them to stop, but they continue and brutally kill her. The brothers arrive and are horrified. Going outside, Oliver asks what to do with the body, and Salvador says there is only one thing left, placing Valeria's remains in front of the house. Later, they reinforce security, and Benjamin goes down to the basement to feed them, noticing something that shocks him. He calls his brothers, who notice that their parents are more agitated after eating Valeria. Benjamin suggests offering more human flesh, but Salvador refuses and maintains the rat diet. The brothers then place the symbol at the highest point to try to attract planes that might drop boxes with the cure, although Salvador doubts the existence and effectiveness of the serum. The next day, Salvador goes to the basement to try to feed the parents, but realizes they do not want to eat. He vents to Oliver, questioning the point of keeping them locked up and suffering for so many years. Oliver comments that Benjamin plans to give Valeria's body to the parents, and shows concern, and Salvador says he will take care of it. Meanwhile, Benjamin tries to remove a piece of the body, but Salvador stops him, pours gasoline over it and sets it on fire, frustrating his brother's plans. During the night, the three talk and Salvador says he has tried everything to make their parents eat, but nothing worked. He suggests that it is time for them to go, but Oliver suggests giving more human flesh. Salvador says they are not murderers, but the brothers insist on the plan. The two demand a vote, and Oliver and Benjamin are in favor. Salvador lets them act as they wish. Later, while the brothers sleep, Salvador goes down to the basement to end his parents' suffering. He points the weapon at his mother, who, even as a zombie, presses the weapon against her own head. But he gives up when he sees the book his parents used to read to him. He begins to read the story and manages to calm them, reconsidering his actions. The next day, he wakes the brothers to gather supplies and gives strict instructions about navigating by the sun and the location of the military post. As the radio is damaged, Salvador explains that if they get lost or encounter dangers like trumpets or infected, they will be on their own and must prioritize escape. The pair begins the journey, traveling for days in search of supplies until they find a devastated structure. While searching the place, they hear growls, go to investigate and find an infected person chained up, and decide to eliminate him. During the night, they reach a military post and observe a man in the distance, deciding to camp there. In the morning, they set a trap for the man, who, upon hearing screams in the forest, goes to investigate and finds Benjamin lying down. The boy does not respond, and when trying to approach, the man falls into the trap, injuring his leg. Oliver comes out of hiding, shooting at him and taking his weapon, but does not have the courage to kill him. Taking advantage of the opportunity, the man approaches and begins to kill him. Benjamin, who was watching, quickly stabs him and then uses a stone to kill him brutally. They place the man's body on the cart and begin to return, unaware that they are being watched. They show the corpse to their brother, who says he is proud, and then they feed their parents. Later, the brothers are awakened by the sound of a trumpet and run to check, but cannot identify the source. Salvador decides to stand guard and asks the brothers to stay alert. In the morning, they hear noises, go to the door and prepare. Suddenly, a man begins to break the barricade, saying he just wants a place to hide. Salvador asks who he is fleeing from, and the man explains it is the trumpets, asking the boys to quickly lock the entrance as they are coming. The intruder asks the brothers about the cure and begins explaining his distorted vision, saying that salvation lies in the hands of the 144,000 chosen and that a sacred mantle is needed to survive the apocalypse. Then he questions the brothers about sacred scriptures, baptism and First Communion, but Salvador, irritated, says that does not matter, calling them little heretics and insisting on the questions. The man reveals himself as part of the fanatical group, and Salvador tells the brothers to hide. He tries to escape, but is knocked down and stabbed with a piece of glass. The brothers manage to pull Salvador away from the man, but more trumpets appear, forcing them to flee. They drag Salvador to the basement, and he asks the brothers to flee without him. Meanwhile, the others question Enoch, the group's leader, about how many there are, and he replies that there are only 3 children. Despite hesitating to kill children, Enoch demands obedience. Oliver notices the parents and concludes that there is only one way out, frightening the trumpets by revealing that there are infected in the house. Enoch sends a young man ahead, who is attacked and killed, while the others advance. The boy's mother attacks another man, injuring him, but the father is shot in the head. The mother, enraged upon seeing the father shot, manages to escape the house, while the boys hide in the cell. Soon, a smoke grenade is thrown, and they are captured. Enoch strikes them, causing them to lose consciousness. Later, the brothers wake up tied and realize that the ritual is beginning, seeing their father's corpse about to be thrown into the fire, and they begin to cry without being able to react. Enoch takes out a syringe and orders his men to place Salvador on an altar. Oliver and Benjamin beg him to stop, but Enoch begins the ritual, stabbing Salvador and tearing out his heart, killing him while the brothers cry desperately. About to consume the heart, he hears a growl coming from the forest, and the trumpets go on alert. At that moment, the boy's mother returns, attacks a man who accidentally fires and kills a companion, while another notices that Oliver is free, points the weapon, but is quickly grabbed and dragged into the darkness, screaming. Oliver approaches the box with the vaccine, but realizes it is empty. Benjamin warns him that Enoch is behind him, and the man, smiling, shows the vaccine. Oliver demands he hand it over, but Enoch orders him to take it or die. Oliver cannot shoot, and Enoch throws him to the ground, about to kill him. He is saved by the mother, who lunges and bites Enoch, but the man, protected by the serum, reacts. Oliver then throws gasoline on Enoch, sets him on fire, and runs to free Benjamin. The two take the vaccine and apply it to the mother, but during the process she bites Benjamin, who cries, fearing he will become infected, while Oliver calms him and promises they will find a new vaccine. Sometime later, Oliver says goodbye to his father and brother, and his nearly cured mother reappears, beginning the journey of the three in search of a cure for Benjamin.